Hello, everybody. It's Phil Lee returning again with Civil War Chat. Click on the subscribe button below if you'd like to subscribe to our episodes every time they're released. Today, I'm going to talk about the statue for William H. Seward in Madison Square Park in New York City. So first, what I want to do is to show you a picture of it. Let me bring that up. See if that comes through okay. All right, enlarge it. There it is. Here it is, Madison Square Park, and that's William H. Seward, who was the Secretary of State for Abraham Lincoln. He was also Secretary of State for Andrew Johnson. He was an active Republican politician from about 1850 to 1868. Let me get started with my remarks about this. What about William H. Seward's statue? Lots of statues are coming down all across the South. Do any of the statues up north merit similar scrutiny? Well, New York's Madison Square Park has a prominent statue to William H. Seward, who was a leading Republican politician from 1850 to 1868. He is best known as President Abraham Lincoln's closest cabinet member and advisor when he served as Secretary of State. When Lincoln was preparing his first inaugural address in 1861, the president-elect turned to Seward for advice. Seward urged the president to replace the concluding paragraph that he deemed to be too warlike with a more conciliatory expression that Lincoln further edited to read as follows. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic chords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land will yet swell the chorus of the Union. When again, touched as surely they will be by the better angels of our nature. Like Lincoln, during the 1850s, Seward had opposed the expansion of slavery into the federal territories west of the Mississippi River and north of Missouri's southern border. But his reasons had little to do with altruistic feelings toward the black slaves. His prime motive, also like Lincoln's, was to reserve the western lands for white settlers. In reality, Seward had a low opinion of blacks. Seward had long been a proponent of manifest destiny as a way to transform America into a powerhouse that might challenge the European economic hegemony. As a New York senator, he had addressed the chamber in 1858 to clarify, quote, "The white man needs this continent to labor upon. He must and will have it," close quote. None of the so-called free states, California, Minnesota, Oregon, and Kansas, that joined the Union during the decade before the Civil War allowed blacks to vote or hold office. Oregon even outlawed free black residents altogether. And incidentally, there were no slave states that entered the Union during this period, just 4 so-called free states. During the 1850s Senate debates concerning California statehood, Seward revealed that manifest destiny was a higher priority to him than was the slave or free status of the state. He explicitly said he would, quote, have voted for California's admission even if she had come in as a slave state, close quote. During the 1860 presidential election, during that year, he remarked concerning blacks, "The great fact is that the African race here is a foreign and feeble element incapable of assimilation. It is a pitiful exotic, unnecessarily transplanted into our fields, and which is unprofitable to cultivate at the cost of the desolation of the native, meaning white, vineyard, close quote. After Lincoln was assassinated, Seward remained in office when Vice President Andrew Johnson succeeded Lincoln as president. In an 1865 cabinet meeting, the secretary voted against black voter enfranchisement. The next year, he elaborated in a conversation, quote, "The North wants nothing to do with Negroes. I have no more concern for them than I have for the Hottentot African tribes. They are God's poor. They always have been and always will be so everywhere." In 1867, he explained that he opposed a bill giving blacks the vote in Washington City, even though he supported black suffrage in New York. His explanation was that blacks composed only 1% of his home state's population, but they represented about 25% of the population in Washington, D.C. Given William H. Seward's deceptive opposition to black slavery and his racist attitude toward blacks, perhaps New Yorkers may want to consider removing his statue from Madison Square Garden. Of course, I'll leave that up to them. I won't lobby for any changes. I won't go up there, seek grants from the Mellon Foundation to enter Madison Square Park, get some youngster to climb up on top of the Seward statue and tear it down. No, I won't do that. If you want to learn more about this kind of background, I recommend Causes of the Civil War by Philip Lee. It's $22 at Amazon and Barnes & Noble and other fine bookstores. If you want a copy from me autographed, it's $25. I'll cover the postage here in the States. And all you have to do is email me, Phil, PHIL _Lee, LEIGH at me.com. And then we can arrange for payment. Okay, thanks for watching.